Does Test cricket not have a future, or does Test cricket not have a future the way you think it should have a future? Because people will always continue to play the game, right?
The kids that grow up, what do they see? Test cricket, or do they see IPL? As of today,
Yeah.
they see IPL. So you'll see the impact in 20 years' time. I'm not talking about today with Test cricket. You say people will keep playing Test cricket. The problem is, will the 5-year-old of today want to play Test cricket?
T20 has seen a financial upside to it where it encourages a youngster to find a career in this space. Do you think a financial upside in Test cricket also may go on to encourage a youngster to probably take up the format?
Youngsters' mindset anyway. Money creates hype. It creates fandom and fame and celebrity status. And that's generally what youngsters are up to and dream about. So when I was younger, I was dreaming about playing in front of big crowds because there's a hype. So if no one is watching Test cricket, that's not a hype, you know what I'm saying? If there's not a excitement about it and an ultimate trophy that's fairly played for and huge hype around whoever wins it, then why should youngsters dream about doing it?
When I look at a Vaibhav Sooryavanshi at 15 years of age, it's like kind of, he's just everywhere. The buzz, good, great for the lad, great for the kid, phenomenally talented, and everybody's like kind of can't have enough of him. What do you make of a stardom like this at 15 years of age?
But there are lots of alarm bells and pitfalls he can go through, and at the age of 15, you should be relatively immature still, and which he probably is. So we'll see what happens. I hope he's got good leadership and guidance and mentorship in his life, and I hope he's open to accept a bit of help along the way.
Very fine with the time, right? I mean, with the timing of your retirement.
To retire at the perfect time for me, and that's the.
It was laying on your mind for a while before getting there.
No, there's a personal journey to go through that, but it was right for me, not for anyone else, for me, and that's why I'm at ease and at peace with it. The minute I felt like that desire left me, that's when I retired.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bombay Sport Exchange. My name is K Shriniwas Rao, and I'm over the moon this week introducing my guest for the podcast. Say hello to Mr. AB de Villiers. Thank you so much for taking the time out. You've had a busy schedule in India. You've been doing a lot of things, including the commentary stint that you've had. So thank you so much for giving us your time.
It's been a busy time, but very enjoyable. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Are you liking your stint in Mumbai? It's not the most pleasant time to be here with the weather like kind of scorching heat like.
Yes, it's humid and very warm, but it's still a special time. Any time to come over to India is just teaches us something different and new. This time around, we traveled quite a lot and we moved around India a lot. But to finish things off in Bombay is just fitting. Lively city. Loss of atmosphere and energy before I head back home.
More exciting than Bangalore?
No, different. Just different. Bangalore's closest to my heart and will always be that way. And it's the city that changed my life now. So Bangalore will always be the closest to my heart.
ABD. I mean, I am like in awe of that the noise that kind of that stadium emanates. ABD. It is fantastic for me, as someone, because I've seen the chants of, Sachin at Wankere, right? And Indian crowds are kind of, noisy. I mean, they can be loud. I mean, from that, but rarely have I seen that kind of fandom for an overseas cricketer, the way AB de Villiers is enjoyed, especially from an IPL standpoint. At some point in this conversation, I would like to get into the psyche of this Indian fandom from an outsider's perspective. But before I get there, it's to start off this conversation, I was reading a very, very interesting quote from Novak Djokovic, and, about what separates the very goods and perhaps the greatest. And in that he says, the only difference is the mental resilience that you bring to the table. The mental setup that you bring to whatever you do actually separates you from kind of the best among the good. Just wanted to kind of understand your perspective on how much of what you brought to the table was the personality of AB de Villiers from a mental perspective.
Yeah, so the mental approach is something you work on throughout your life. And I think Djokovic mentions that as well in that interview. It's not something you're born with. So it depends how far you are willing to go and how often you prepare to stand up and go through tough times. You consistently come back, you tend to become mentally stronger. So I think that's what it's referring to. And a lot of that played a part in my career as well.
Can you learn that? Or you got to like kind of it just has to come to you naturally?
You learn that through experiences, yes. If you're open to that, you have an option to either keep up and do something else or learn from it and become mentally stronger and be better the next time around, preferably.
Can you give me an example from your own career, like, a phase that probably where it occurred to you that being mentally strong would have perhaps been everything?
It's my whole career was a journey of character growth and experiences that are good and bad, and then ultimately realizing or learning how to deal with the good and the bad. That's not only cricket but in life. So it actually applies to your everyday life as well. There were many moments. Many moments. My initial first moment was probably internationally in 2006 and 7, where I struggled a bit. But right throughout my career, till the very last day that I played cricket, there were ups and downs.
When you started off, T20 had yet not kind of totally, settled in. It was a format that people were still beginning to only wrap their heads around. But ODI was obviously at its peak. And yes, I mean, South Africa were obviously one of the biggest test playing teams. Did you set a benchmark for yourself in terms of where you wanted to head with your cricket? Did you at that point ever think that, I'll end up playing 100 test matches? Or, was that, the North Star that you started your career with? That I want to excel in test cricket, or you just wanted to play the game as long as we enjoyed it?
The short answer is no. No idea. So I can elaborate a bit. At the age of 18, 19, 20, that's definitely not part of your, part of what you think about. You take it one day at a time, and I don't think there are any youngsters at the age of 19. If I ask Sooryavanshi now, you're going to play 150 test matches. It's not possible to say something, but that's not Barry's mind, he said. And shouldn't be. You should be focusing on the present, trying to become a better player every single day through experiences, good and bad. And that was my mindset then. I was just happy to get an opportunity to play cricket and wanted to be as good as I could be.
Why this question occurred to me was in 2009 when the IPL came to South Africa. I covered that tournament there, and I remember it was a very casual setting. I was like kind of I was in Centurion. I was casually talking to some of the cricketers there, and the Mopper brothers were there, and generally we were chatting. And I remember Albi saying, one very interesting thing that never left my mind. Said, nobody will ever remember me if I played 200 T20 internationals. Like, nobody's going to, in 10 years' time or 15 years from now, nobody's going to say, great cricketer, 200 T20 international, 250 T20. But if I end up playing a good chunk of 50 to 70 test matches, people will know what I got to the table. I mean, today in hindsight, when you look back at something like that as an example, where does kind of what brings more weightage, but perhaps, from a career perspective, the fact that you are one among the only 8 South African cricketers who have played 100 plus test matches. In fact, only among the 2 South African cricketers to have played 100 plus test matches in average 50 plus, along with Jaggers.
Albie was wrong, because you remember him and everyone else remembers him, and he only played 2 test matches. I think he's remembered for the IPL that he played, and some of his heroics through hitting big sixes.
Yeah.
I think playing test cricket is a lot more personal and traditional pride in that. Growing up, we watched test cricket, And times have changed. It's not the same anymore. And us as test match traditionalists hope that the format gets enough love and respect, and the respect that it deserves. But yeah, I mean, you get remembered by the way you play the game, not so much the format and your stats. That's at least what I would like to think. LB, when I think about LB Morkel, I think of a left-hander who could hit the ball a mile and who's an all-around specialist. He could win the games with a bat and ball in hand. When I think about myself, it's someone who has a passion for the game, who loves turning the game upside down, and maybe the people enjoy me for that. Someone with a smile on his face, and not so much he played out of test matches or 50 ODIs or whatever the case may be. So each of us are different. Each of us enjoy a certain format a bit more than the other, more than whatever it may be, T20s or ODIs, or for me it's Test cricket, it's my favourite, and I just really hope that the Test format will stay in the good state for a number of years to come, as it is under threat.
What do you make of all this conversation that happens that Test cricket is in danger? You really think it is?
Of course, yeah.
Because I also think that, I always had this line to say that, like, when people say Test cricket is in danger or Test cricket doesn't have a future, my answer is, does Test cricket not have a future, or does Test cricket not have a future the way you think it should have a future? Because people will always continue to play the game, right?
Who are the people?
I mean, you were playing that, Chris. You were playing cricket in the Maidans of Mumbai. I saw that that clip that went viral. Right?
So there's your problem: is the kids that grow up, what do they see? There's cricket, or do they see IPL?
As of today, yeah,
they see IPL. So you'll see the impact in 20 years' time. I'm not talking about today with Test cricket. You say people will keep playing Test cricket. The problem is, will the 5-year-old of today want to play Test cricket in 15 years' time from now? And the answer is no, with an exclamation mark, because of the hype of T20s and IPL and some of the franchise leagues around the world, the money in that, the attention you get, the followers you get. If they can't replicate that in Test cricket will be in trouble. And you won't see it now, you'll see it at 50 to 20 years from now.
Do you see
So that's the big danger.
Do you see a solution for it?
Pay the people properly, yes.
Like, give me,
it must be on the same level as IPL, in my opinion. Otherwise, why would a youngster want to play Test cricket? And I'm not saying a 5-year-old's thinking about the money, but it's just in his face now, is shortest version of the game. And nothing else is as hyped up as that. So get the hype going with Test cricket, pay the players enough and properly so that they can create a hype around Test cricket again. Of course, the quality of cricket is not the problem. The Test matches are unbelievable at the moment. It's in an aggressive style of play. It's changed completely, and it's in a better state than you'll ever find it from a quality point of view. But that's not the problem. The problem is what happens around it from an administrative point of view, and those who make decisions around how can we create hype around Test cricket and how can we pay the players enough so that they go, you know what, I know there's a T20 league there, but I want to play for my country. And that's slowly but surely fading away.
So, I still, the third test, India short of South Africa in 2018, the third test in Johannesburg, we were like, India was trailing, and Johannesburg was a do or die in terms of drawing that series. And it's one of my favorite test matches, especially the last days of play when the pitch was kind of cracking. And, there was like all this drama around whether the pitch was good enough to kind of continue playing, stop there, etc. But the test just refuses to leave my mind after all these years. And when I look at that, an India versus South Africa contest, from whether it's from India playing in India or South Africa has a market, what will happen perhaps when we're looking to talk about saving Test cricket? What are we looking at from a Sri Lanka versus West Indies, or Pakistan versus Zimbabwe kind of a setup? How do you kind of find an equilibrium for all countries? That I think is the missing aspect when you're talking about Test cricket, because an India versus South Africa, an India versus England, an India versus Australia Test match will never fade away. They'll always retain some charm, right? With the following that's there, the competition that picks it. thinking aloud. We can see that where the real battle lies.
We can speculate about it for days. There are 100 different formulas that could possibly work. Luckily, it's not my job.
No, I yet.
I've always felt that the World Championship of Test cricket should be longer, so that all teams play against each other at home and away. The prize money should be insane, and then someone like a West Indies will be inspired enough to say, we need to. There's lots to play for here, and maybe even a top 3 to get paid properly. Winners with a mace, and maybe a top 3 over an extended period of time of maybe 5 or 6 or even 8 years. Doesn't matter. But a whole story to unfold over a lengthy period of time. And there will be upsets, believe me. There will be the Zimbabwe that's at home get to beat someone with a shoot it on a tricky wicket or whatever the case. It'll be interesting, I think, and that's one way of looking at it. But there will be 20 different reasons why that shouldn't be the case, the formula that I just mentioned.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's up to the administrators and whoever are making the main decisions to get the right formula to make sure Test cricket is in a good state, and that the youngsters of today dream to become Test cricketers as well, to represent their nations as well, and not just play IPL and T20Ds. But there's a place for that as well. So it's all about the balance.
True. And like T20 has seen a financial upside to it where it encourages a youngster to find a career in this space, do you think a financial upside in Test cricket also may go on to encourage a youngster to probably take up the format more seriously?
Yeah, it wasn't the case for me. I mean, that shouldn't be a youngster's mindset anyway. Money creates hype. It creates fandom and fame and celebrity status. And that's generally what youngsters are up to and dream about. So when I was younger, I was dreaming about playing in front of big crowds because there's a hype. So if no one is watching Test cricket, that's not a hype, you know what I'm saying? If there's not a excitement about it and an ultimate trophy that's fairly played for and huge hype around whoever wins it, then why should youngsters dream about doing it? And that's what I'm talking about. When I grew up, my dream was to play in front of big crowds for my country. Nothing to do with money. I'm just naming you why money is important. Now that I'm a bit older, is because that it pulls attention towards the event. And at the moment, that's IPL and maybe the World Cups. So you need to create, maybe not even World Cups anymore. ODIs, I'm afraid to say, a lot of people don't watch it anymore. And even the World Cup, there are games that you miss because it's quite dragged out and there's not a huge hype around it. Semis and finals, yes. But the IPL, you watch every single game. My kids watch every game because there's a hype around it.
But even in T20, matches are going almost up to 4 hours. The attention span is seriously reducing. From what I'm gathering now, even from a T20 standpoint, people are not ready to spend the entire 3.5, 4 hours, the regular general cricket fan. They're not ready to spend 3.5, 4 hours in front of the television. They're just catching moments. The game that way, from a viewership standpoint, it is disintegrating heavily, kind of. We talk about ODIs. Yes, ODIs is 7.5 hours, of watching the game, which, that kind of time consumption time doesn't exist. But even from a T20 standpoint, prime time hours, 3 hours, 3.5, 4 hours have become too much. It's literally like, are we looking at a future where T10 is going to probably take over, right? Because that's the only amount of time now, 1 hour, 2 hours that we could probably get to a game. If it has to happen on a daily basis.
Yeah, tricky situation. It's difficult to put your finger on what the right balance is. And as I said, I'm quite happy that I'm not the one to have to decide what should happen in the future. But yeah, there needs to be carefully thought about what the right way forward is and what the right balance is in order for Test cricket to survive and to be healthy and of a high quality moving forward.
I'll come to the ODIs later, but before that, we're talking about, a youngster and how he kind of approaches the sport. And today I'm when I look at a Vaibhav Sooryavanshi at 15 years of age, it's he's just everywhere. I just tweeted the other day that, moms and grandmoms are rack in front of television sets because, they kind of can't get over the fact that a 15-year-old, it could be any of their kids or their grandkids, like, on a television set at prime time, kind of creating all the buzz. The buzz, good, great for the lad, great for the kid, phenomenally talented, and everybody's like kind of can't have enough of him. What do you make of a stardom like this at 15 years of age? Cricket is there, yes. In life, we understand that, at some point, it's not always a runway, right? I mean, you are going to face disappointments. At 15, at 18, perhaps he could go through a patch that, you just a while back spoke about the low that you went through. Can you kind of, help draw a balance? Like what happens in a phase like that? At 15 years of age, this kind of startup. Is it good? Is it bad from a T20 standpoint? We should just leave the guy alone.
I have absolutely no idea. I wasn't there when I was 15, and that's the beauty of life. Is everyone's journey looks different, so it's not up to me to explain exactly the emotions he's going through. There are lots of alarm bells. He will go through patches, and his character will be tested, and then it's up to him to show whether he's got that kind of character and mental capacity to get through those patches. But there are lots of alarm bells and pitfalls he can go through, and at the age of 15, you should be relatively immature still, and which he probably is. So we'll see what happens. I hope he's got good leadership and guidance and mentorship in his life, and I hope he's open to accept a bit of help along the way. Because it will be a rocky road, there's no doubt about it, especially if he decides to play Test cricket, which he might not. This might be your first example of one of the early youngsters to say, sorry, I'm not interested in that. Pretty happy with T20s. Of course, it's comfortable. It's not uncomfortable at all with regards to testing your character out there. Bowlers with short spells. It's only 2 fielders outside the ring, the new ball, flat wickets. It's an easy life as a cricketer. So we'll see what he decides, but there will be pitfalls and challenges for him.
And let's suppose that, a kid like Vaibhav doesn't take interest in just Test cricket.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, let's say if that happens, you can't blame the kid after all, because, he's going after whatever interests him. So then the onus of, the format being picked up doesn't lie on a 15-year-old as much as lies on the institution and those running the institution to take care of, how to kind of spread that awareness. Right?
Yes, you can't blame him. It's decisions that's been made from the top and in which way they are guarding the cricketing wall. So it's up to them to find a balance and, to make those decisions a bit harder. It's quite easy at the moment.
Yeah. I just get this feeling that, the idea of stardom, what it used to be in Sachin's case, 25 years of playing for India. You, Virat, all of you are like, good 10.5, 15 odd years of, staying right at the top. The idea of stardom is shrinking. I mean, is this because of our consumption habit, our concentration levels? We just keep wanting something new all the time. So I just feel that, today's star, the average tenure of a star doesn't last more than 5 to 8 years. And then someone new comes along and then your attention shifts. I mean, I don't know. I mean, today when I look back at South African cricket and then you see a Jonty Rhodes from the early 90s, that image of Jonty Rhodes in the South African colours on the field, it's etched in memory. Today you see a youngster probably, kind of coming up with a gravity-defying act on the field, right? And you see it, and then at some point you just move on because there's something new and something equally interesting on this count. So is that a way our consumption habit is changing? Is superstardom, the average idea of a superstar is shrinking?
I think it's changing. What I do like about it is there used to be a time where longevity was stardom, and the records and the stats might not look good, but if a guy's played out in 50 test matches, he's a legend. I'm glad that's changing, because that shouldn't be the case. But it's difficult to measure these days what great is. It's not easy because of the shorter version of the game. There's talent. Talent gets rewarded, but there's now again not enough of character and longevity. And can you actually go through difficult phases of the game? Once again, it's very tricky. And I was in the middle of that transitional phase of cricket. I was there for the first 5 years where it was all about Test cricket, and I was there towards the back end where it was all about T20. So I saw it all happening right in front of my eyes, and I was always very irritated about longevity. And he scored this amount of runs, and he played this amount of Test matches, and now he's a hero and great. But I'm also irritated about the lack of character in the shortest version, and being able to differentiate between what is actually great and what not. So it's a tricky thing. All the traditionalists are angry with T20s because it takes away from the Test match arena and statistics and history of that format. A lot of the greats won't be able to know how the youngsters of today measure up against them because they just don't play enough Test matches. I played just over 100 Test matches. It probably could have been over 200 if my focus was more on Test matches, if there were no T20s around. Which was the case for the guys like Tendulkar, Ranakalas and Aponte. So, but I'm not spoken about in the Test format amongst those names.
That's where
I never had the opportunity to play that amount of Test matches. So my runs are obviously less, but that was the only measurement back then. Like, you on 8,000 runs, that's nowhere near the greats. I'm never going to get it because I'm not going to play 200 Test matches. There's another format now.
For outsiders like us, that is where we see your accomplishment, is such a fine one, because despite all the madness around the white ball format, you still completed those 100 plus Test matches. You were there.
And now it's even changed more. So you can't now say it's a great accomplishment because the youngsters of the day have absolutely no interest to play on the Test matches anymore. So now, great for them is something different, and they don't care about what happened in the past. But once again, comes from the top, so we'll see what they do with this little debacle.
We for us, we were when you took that call to kind of put the game 2021. It was more a question of why than
I wanted to make sure they didn't get 10,000 runs because they made too much of an issue about 10,000. So I made sure I retired just prior to it.
But it never. You were very fine with the time, right? I mean, with the timing of your retirement.
To retire at the perfect time for me, and that's the.
It was laying on your mind for a while before getting there.
No, there's a personal journey to go through that, but it was right for me, not for anyone else. For me, and that's why I'm at ease and at peace with it. Obviously, it played on my mind for a while since the 2015 World Cup, losing there. Traveling a lot. My first son was born in 2015. A lot happened, a lot changed in life. A lot of issues with my own board in Cricket South Africa. Some things just didn't line up as I wanted it to from 2015 onwards. Took a bit of time away from the game. And it was just a difficult time to work through. 2016, 17, 2018, I decided, you know what? I love my country so much. Let's give it one last final push and see where we go with it. But I knew at that time that's probably going to be my last year.
Yeah.
And then I walked away from the game at international level just when I wanted to. On a high, beating India and Australia at home. And decided, you know what? I'm going to play a few more T20 tournaments, show my family the world. Let them travel with me to the IPL, to England with a blast, to Australia with a big bash, and a couple of others, and then call it the day when I was right and when I was ready.
2017, I remember when India was showing South Africa, the headline was where he's kind of wants to kind of call it quits, and then you kind of made that one last effort. Is that the phase that you're talking about? We made that one last effort.
No one knew I was going to retire. I didn't announce this. 2018, India went to South Africa, so I played that series, we won. Then we played Australia at home, and knowing that was going to be my last series. But I didn't announce it. Morna Morkel announced his retirement in that series.
Right.
walked away from the series, and then I started planning when I'm going to release the fact that I'm finished.
Right.
That's the way I wanted it.
Right. You know, uh, it was also the phase, right? I mean, 2018, when I look back today, 2017 rather, was, in many ways, it's not talked about, but in many ways, that was the year when the further push from any other format towards T20 happened, because it is in that year that the IPL rights got sold again after 10 years, right? In 2010, the IPL was envisaged as a property, and it was a 10-year media rights period. And in 2018, it got sold again, and it got sold at roughly 5 times the existing value, 3.5, 4 times the existing value. That, kind of from an industry standpoint, it just made us sit and take note. Facebook, for example, made a phenomenal bid for IPL digital rights in 2017-18. We, as those documenting this transition in sport, as a journalist, as writers, etc., we were able to kind of see how that game was changing, how the game was transitioning at that point. From a cricketer's standpoint, purely as someone who was very closely involved with the game, what was the thought in an average cricketer's mind? Like, did you all see the revenue canvas around the game changing so phenomenally? And what were you all thinking? What did these headlines make you all think? Media rights means more revenue. More revenue means players earning a lot more than they are, whatever they're taking home today. Did it like in any way influence the way cricketers thought?
I'm going to give you a very boring answer, and I'm apologizing in advance. I didn't for 1 second throughout my entire career think about money or politics or any nonsense. I honestly didn't. It's very interesting to look back now, as I have more interest in financials and numbers and statements and all of that. And it's incredible to see how the IPL's grown over the years. It's breathtaking. During my playing days, I was maybe silly, but
That was not boring at all.
It was literally all about just hitting a cricket ball. Every single day of my life, that's all I focused on. I would look at my bank account and go, wow, that's nice. That's a bonus. Very cool. What do we do now? Now we invested, and okay, no problem. And then it was just cricket. How can I be the best? How can I win a game? So I remember these headlines and all of that, and I thought to myself, oh, cool, the tournament is surviving. It's getting bigger and stronger, and I was happy for whoever started it.
When you say something like that, do you consider yourself lucky?
Absolutely. Very privileged, very fortunate, but not because of the money, because I play cricket against the best players in the world.
To not allow money to kind of, whatever.
I was brought up that way, so it was never an issue. To me, money was never a big part of my life. I was taught from a young age that money doesn't grow on trees, and you look after what you have, and you appreciate your blessings, you respect other people, and the basics were just always in place with that. So money has never ever moved the needle for me. I believe I will get rewarded if I keep doing the basics well, and if I keep working hard and keep growing as a person and keep growing my skills. So that's the boring answer. I remember these headlines, but I absolutely 0% interest in any of it. And whoever spoke to me about it would lose my interest immediately. Just like, cool, whatever.
Interesting you say that, because it's been like 5.5 years since you retired now. And today, when I look around and when I see the ecosystem changing, to me, the bigger worry is when at a very personal level, I'd say this, like when I look at a Vaibhav Sooryavanshi, kind of the accolades, well deserved, beautiful, to see him play his cricket. It worries me at a very personal level that, he's just 15, maybe 16. What happens when a kid is 19, 20? He's got to, life is so big. I mean, bigger than what he may probably be thinking right now. It's so cruel from a sports person's perspective. Like, I'm a professional in my space. At 36 years, I would probably be thinking, how do I take my career to the next level? What is it that I do now in my life that it allows me to kind of earn better, or probably, kind of move to the next level? And you at 36 you were the best at something anywhere in the world. And then you say, all right, now I have to give this up, and move on to something else. It's not easy. It is, I don't know, it can be very cruel. It can be very...
You hit the nail on the head with that. Just the minute I felt like that desire left me, that's when I retired. So and that proves my point that I never played for the money, but it was a nice bonus. But the minute at that age, when I felt like, you know what, I think I've had enough. I still quality-wise up there with some of the best players in the world, but it's probably going to start fading now because I'm not playing enough cricket and the desire is not there anymore. And that was always the main thing. In 2007-8, when I started finding my rhythm, I publicly said I want to be the best player in the world, and that was always my drive. So not now I achieved it and I want to move on, but then at that age, in the mid-30s, when I retired from international cricket, I felt like it's not my drive anymore. And then I asked myself, but what am I doing here? I said, am I here for the money? And I obviously said no to myself. And then I just did, you know what, I'd rather be with my family and find new passions and challenges in life.
It's that easy.
That easy, yeah. It took a while. It's not just an overnight decision, but that's what played in my mind over and over again for the last season or so. And then I just went up to Virat and said, I'm done.
Did he stop you? Did he encourage you?
He tried, yes.
Mustn't have been easy to let go. I don't know. Must have been easy to let go of that chant of ABD with 40,000 people sitting here kind of.
Yeah, well, that's draining as well. That also gives you sleepless nights. It's not all just hunky-dory and sunshine and roses. There are tough times as well, and the kind of expectation and pressure you put on yourself, it can be suffocating sometimes, and I've mentioned that before. I'm very proud of my performances, and I would always really struggle to sleep the night before big games, and I'll be so focused on making an impact for the team, and that I would struggle to be myself always. So it's not always easy. Obviously I miss that, and when it came off and they helped me a lot to get into that zone, it was very enjoyable. But like all other successes in life, it disappears very quickly. And all champions will tell you that to win big trophies. They'll say it's an hour later, now what?
Yeah.
And then it just goes, look, we just go again. There's a new trophy. You never be satisfied with those kind of achievements. But you can fondly look back at those memories, and I certainly do. It's changed my life completely. The game of cricket, the fans, South Africa, the Swabi, the entire India. Played an ODI series here in 2000, end of 15, early 16. I can't remember the exact days, but they were cheering me on everywhere I went. So that was incredible, and I will always remember that. But it doesn't mean that it was always easy.
True. This when you were talking, it occurred to me that you played under 19 for South Africa. That was in 2005 or
2003.
All right. What was the global competition like? For example, what was the North Star in terms of what you looked up to in the game? Right. Because I believe that somewhere between the mid-90s and the mid-2000s, cricket, maybe it's because I grew up in those years, I thought cricket was at its finest, in terms of the clash, the contest between the bat and the ball. What was the North Star that you looked up to, in terms of where did you want to be when you were starting off that day? Or what is it that came to your mind? Did you look at the Tendulkars and the Laras and the Warnes of the world and say, that's where I want to kind of focus on, that those are the kind of guys I want to play my cricket with? What was it?
It's a combination of all that you just mentioned now. So I grew up watching obviously role models and some of the guys that inspired me, John T. Rhodes, Hansie Cronje, they lost Klusener in 99, even though they lost the World Cup. I thought it was amazing. And that sort of unlocked a bit of a thought process of anything is possible from any position. I always felt that I had that in me in any way. That just made me go I want to do those kind of things where people how did we win from that position? And then obviously different players from different countries. I very clearly remember 2005 with Test series we played in the West Indies, Lara getting 177 and I got 178. No one spoke about it, but I was lying in bed that night thinking I got 1 run more than Brian Lara. And he inspired me so much on the tour. We had a moment where he came up to me and said, "I know your name," and he spelled my name for me because I couldn't pronounce my name in the West Indies. They were struggling to say AB de Villiers. They went like AB de Villiers, whatever. But Lara just came up to me and said, "Don't worry about the MC. I know how to pronounce your name." And he said, AB de Villiers, ABDEVILLIERS. You can play, man. I was like, oh, okay.
How old were you at that time?
I was 21, 2005, tour of West Indies. And then I got 1 run more than him at Barbados. It was a huge moment in my life, in my career. We won that Test series, we won the ODI series. It was just a nice tour, first up tour, not too mentally intense. And I played well. And then came the big dip in 2006 and 7, very tough times to work through. But I fondly think back of those memories of how I showed mental courage, how I learned on my feet, how difficult it was to navigate through those phases. And I'm very proud of those times. I mean, I am today because of the tough times more so than the good times. So, and you'll hear a lot of people say that. So many great things to look back on, but those are the players that inspired me, the Crusaders and some of the greats. I think of Hayden and the Ponting, which I ended up playing against. I played against all of those guys. Shane Warne, the late Shane Warne, I remember I hated him watching him, Glenn McGrath. And the next minute I played against them. So it was quite intimidating to step into that arena, but then also to get to know them. And that's where the IPL, it's one of the best things I'll be back on with the IPL, is to share it through dressing room with Glenn McGrath in a team, travel on the bus with him and talk to him about his life. And all of a sudden that was unlocked. So that changed everything completely, understanding that we're all just human after all. And sometimes as a youngster, you blow something up too much. But anything is achievable and reachable if you just apply yourself.
Sometimes wonder, did that change cricket more than anything? Like, you and a Glenn McGrath and a Virat Kohli inside the same dressing room, as against you and Virat Kohli in a test match, stuck like each other's rivals, really to have a go at each other, not giving an inch. That's who you were as cricketing personalities. And when the IPL happened, you all found yourselves having dinner together and probably sharing the same dressing room. Is that where cricket also changed in a large way, right? Kind of those rivalries which were supposed to be,
Brutal.
So yeah.
No, it did change the game completely, for the good and for the bad. I do miss some of that unknown moments where you're not quite sure this guy is actually going to physically attack you or not. But then there's so much good that came from it as well. To get to know opposition from different countries and cultures and religions, and seeing the beauty of life in different cultures and people. And we would still play very hard cricket in test matches especially, even though I knew some of the players, that would still get personal and people you're there to win a match and to get a job done. And I would always respect that as well. I wouldn't take it personally. So I think it's an individual thing. For some, it changed the game completely. For me, it was all mostly good. But I do miss a little bit of not sure what this guy's going to do to me. I'm worried we walk off the field and he's going to, I don't know. But yeah, so there is a little bit that was taken away from that.
Yeah. I in 2008, the IPL was starting, and it's the same year that India was in Australia, and that whole scandal happened. Andrew said Harbhajan Singh and all the nonsense. And the very next year, or in a couple of years after that, Andrew and Baji are sharing the dressing room, right? And that was the first time that made me think, what happens to that famed rivalry when everybody is going to become a friend? Isn't the beauty of sport part of that, the rivalry that kind of it gave way to. I mean, I don't know. And that in today's times, I think has totally blurred the line in any other format. I think, Test cricket today, when people tend to miss the edge, what Test cricket was all about, is last I saw it with Virat as captain from an India standpoint.
I think it's still there. I really do. Those moments that you referred to is anyway crossing the line where players get too personal, sometimes physical, sometimes racist. So it's a good thing there's a line drawn there. I think it's still played very hard, and it's still about winning and man on man. So that hasn't disappeared. I watch every test match, so I feel that passion and that emotion is still there. And maybe it's a good thing that it's not over the top anymore. So yeah, I think it's good. Yeah.
You think the World Test Championship final should be a larger series, like except for one test match?
Longer, better, and louder, definitely.
Best of 3 or a best of 5?
They have to recreate, or try at least, what the ODI World Cup always was. Something really big every 4 years, where the whole world comes to a standstill. So definitely 3 matches, maybe. I think a once-off is tough. Maybe once-off is not too bad, but the build-up has to be bigger, semi-finals, and you need to have a proper structure that everyone understands and it's fair. There's home and away games. It must just make sense. I think the last Test Championship wasn't quite as I would have pictured it, as the best Test team of all time kind of thing, There needs to be a fair structure and a very big hype with the end game.
Yeah. But great Test match for South Africa. I mean,
that was amazing. It was very special. Yeah.
Also, I was there in at the Oval when India and Australia played, right? The WTC final in 2022, 23. At a neutral venue, 2 very good test teams playing a test match, a one-off test at a neutral venue, somehow didn't if you go to play the final, then even that has to be somewhat of a home and away contest, right? Let's say if 2 teams have topped the test rankings, etc., and made it as the top 2 teams to kind of play the WTC final, I thought it should still be a home and away affair, right, to determine the true result.
Yeah, I don't mind the neutral venue, to be honest. I think it happens in other sporting codes as well. Champions League football, to name but a few. A lot of them do it like that. And then you have others who do the home and away. NBA's got 7 games, home and away. I think the top of the log team maybe gets that extra one if it is 3 all. I'm not sure if that's also, I can't remember. But anyway, long and the short is I don't mind a neutral venue. Whichever way you go, home and away or neutral, it's not the end of the world to me. As long as it's a good enough.
As long as the test match, the binder test match at South Africa.
Well, yes, and a good enough venue so that you get a jam-packed stand, and you want it to be a sellout, and it's for it to be a bit of an atmosphere. Yeah,
which is the great thing in South Africa. Getting the crowds to attend matches is not a headache at all. People come. I mean, I've seen that happen in Test cricket. I've seen that happen in SC20, everywhere, getting people to attend. That makes me actually think about another thing, right? Today, sports T20 leagues around the world are like sprouting every nook and corner. Every month you have a new league. And I always feel, and when I look at SC20, I mean, it's something that I kind of, I keep talking to Graham Smith a lot about it. One of the beautiful things about a tournament like SC20 is that it has a strong grassroots culture, because, domestic cricket in South Africa has its own importance. How important from your perspective is that today when a league is being designed, how important do you think is to bear in mind that it needs to have a great grassroots structure? Otherwise, we are literally just depending on foreign imports to kind of, make it look like a gladiator kind of this thing. I mean, cricketers had to be homegrown. Is that what makes Big Bash such a lovely tournament? At the end of the day, kind of, or right here, but than that.
Yes, I think it plays a huge role in the youngsters. feeling inspired. I think SA20 has done a great job in doing that, bringing the kids back to the grounds, dreaming, and while watching some of the best players in the world. Graham and his team has done a fantastic job in creating a great atmosphere, lots of activations, lots of reasons for people to take the family and go and watch a game of cricket. So I think a tournament like that is incredibly important. We saw the impact it's had on Indian cricket with the IPL over a number of years now. And I think a similar kind of effect will take place in South Africa and a few other countries that run a really successful and good T20 tournament, where it's not just about the business model, but about doing the right thing. If you can have a successful business while doing the right thing, it's the perfect formula.
I can be a great brand ambassador for South Africa. I love the country. I love the idea of just sitting in all the boxes, looking at the Table Mountains and watching a test match. I saw also. So, yeah. Okay. But back in India, I want to go back to Bangalore. That, it's kind of been a home for you. I mean, it's a place where you've spent a long part of your career. Tell me something about Bangalore. Like, just as a city, the whole RCB fandom. What was your take up in all these years? If you could sum it up like that.
Yeah, Bengaluru is a special city.
That's at Bangalore.
Bengaluru hugely impacted me in my life. Started in 2011 with RCB, and it just I immediately felt at home and welcomed. And it didn't take long for the crowd to really get behind me when I came out to bat. And that's the kind of dream I had when I was growing up. And there was almost like a pinch me kind of moment the first time they started chanting my name. And I just went like, aha, that's what I was feeling when I was a youngster, when I was 6, 7 years old, hitting tennis balls in the garage, playing against myself. That's where I could feel like I want to play in front of the crowd one day. That was always my drive, and that's where that light bulb went on. I was like, this is it. So there was that connection with Bengaluru and the people of India in general, which only later on started happening in 2015, 16. But Bengaluru from the start was a very deep connection with the fans and the people that supported RCB.
You think, the fandom in India is massive. Like, if I were to compare it to any other sport, maybe, football in the UK, or probably, if I would look at one country concentrated towards one sport, Indian cricket fandom is like no other. Right. In that you get all sorts of mixes. You get fans who only want to come and take a selfie with you. You probably wouldn't even know what you who you are as a cricketer, but they know that you are someone that they would want a picture with you. And then there are fans who are actually extremely focused about the game, very intelligent when it comes to understanding the sport and the way they track it. Did you at some point begin to categorize how the Indian fandom worshipped you? In terms of, there were these fans who wanted to come to the ground and be part of a larger crowd and just chanted AB because they were just happy being there, right? And it was the thing to do. And then there are fans who truly understand AB the cricketer, kind of what he be saying. Were you able to differentiate between, because the psyche of that average Indian cricket fan?
I never understood it. I didn't know what happened there. All I know is it was incredibly special, that connection. And just think there's a deep love for the game of cricket and for competition. And the people of India admire players who play with passion and with an inner joy. And perhaps that is what happened. And perhaps also someone who always sees like the positive side in any scenario or situation. So, yeah, however that happened, I'm not sure, but I'll be very grateful for the connection I have with the people of Bengaluru and of India.
Please tell me what's keeping you busy these days. Like, you've been in Mumbai, you've been doing so many things, tell us something about 360.
Yeah, so the name 360 was given to me by the people of India, and it was just a natural progression to to build a bit of a brand around that. I've always wanted to stay involved with the game of cricket and with the people of India after my career ended. There's still a story to be told and a journey to go through. And obviously the connection with RCB, going back to Bengaluru on a yearly basis, coming back to India as often as I can throughout the years is part of what I do now. It's all about passion and just a deep connection with this place, and that's what I feel. So we built a few products around the 360 brand, the bats, there's clothing. We bring fruits from South Africa, our very best fruits over here to India, the 360 apples and citrus, and so many other products as well. Quite a few that's been rolled out. That was never the plan, but it is all part of keeping that connection alive. And I obviously do the YouTube show, 360 show.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed that. I never thought I would. I'm not a man of many words, but except for on podcasts like this. But I do twice a week. I go onto YouTube. I have a live show the weekends. The podcast with Dale Stan and a show that I record throughout the week as well. And I've been thoroughly enjoying that against all the odds. So all of that is part of just keeping that connection alive with this place that I love so dearly.
You've been an all-format player. And today when we talk about all-format cricketers, there are only those few who are like kind of, in India, if you look at a Shubman Gill or a Yashasvi Jaiswal who's playing all the three formats, we think the idea of an all-format cricketer has any kind of a longevity in place, or it's phasing out. You're either going to be a test cricketer or you want to be a deep cricketer.
It's phasing out. There's no doubt about it. It just depends how it's going to be balanced. And I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. I would like to think someone from the top that's got the brains to figure it out. That's their job after all. But I definitely feel it's phasing out. I can't imagine the 6, 7, 8-year-olds of today are going to play all the formats. There's just no room for that. If you want to be a great T20 player, you can't play too much of the other formats. If you want to be a great Test match player, you can't play too much of the other formats anymore. So it just doesn't make sense anymore. So we'll see what happens. I honestly don't know. Are they going to specialize down the line? I'm not against anything as long as it makes sense, as long as all the formats are well looked after and well balanced. There's a natural rewarding for everyone who actually loves it. And you want the players to love what they do. And if it can remain that, then I'll be happy.
Let's conclude this conversation with not your favorite format, but the format that in which fans see you is perhaps the quote ODIs. What do you think about the future of ODIs? Like, where do you think ODIs are headed going forward? Before I'll share my mind with you. I personally believe that had the 2023 World Cup not happened in India, where kind of the fandom is at its highest peak, I thought that we would have by now been already discussing the fading away of the format. I think it's just postponed the inevitable. Your thoughts?
No, what's going to be my answer? It revolves around the World Cups, and the tradition and the history thereof are very powerful. So I don't think it's time to necessarily get rid of the format. I think it's a wonderful format It's a really nice combination of Test match cricket and T20s as the bowlers get longer spells. So there's a little bit of that character test involved, where if a bowler gets on top of you, he's going to be there for a while, and you don't get that in T20s. And then also it's short enough so that if you get the result in a day.
They both two new balls. The route.
There are lots of different ways that you can look at it. I'm not too phased about what you do with the format itself, as long as you keep the World Cups exciting enough and healthy with a good format and a nice climax. I see it lasting for a very long time. You don't have to have a lot of ODI series throughout the year. You have nice build-ups, and I think a lot of sports do that to a certain extent, but they don't obviously have the different formats. But football, the international teams get together 10 days, couple of weeks before World Cups. They play in Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues and then it's like, it's time for World Cup. Let's go and get together, play World Cup. So It's not the end of the world if we do it like that.
Another Pemba thing actually, if a league is longer for 6 to 7 months, player also tends to feel secure. He knows that he's going to be taken care of for a large part of the year. I mean, it's good, right? It helps the athlete feel safer. That's at least what happens in football, right? When these South American players come to UK and Europe to play these long leagues, upper leagues, they feel like, okay, I'm being taken care of for a good part of the year, and that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. Like any problem, there's always a solution, and they're just going to have to find the right answers for all the formats to survive moving forward. The main thing is to keep the players motivated and well looked after and inspired. You want the new generation, the younger generation, to dream, and if that's not the case, then you've got trouble coming up. So let's hope they keep the youngsters of today inspired.
On that note, I'm so thankful for you to be giving us this time.
Thank you. It's my absolute pleasure.